Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Tinseltown, issue 1 from Alterna Comics. This is part 1 of a 5-part series chronicling the adventures of a lady cop. Now it's an interesting sort of story. This woman's dad was a police officer who was killed, and she had to grow up in a boarding house, and she was doing some hard living as an angry young woman. But then she saw that they were hiring for police officers at this Utopia Studios, which the studios of the time in the real world did have their own police forces, and I think they were the first to integrate female police officers. And since this takes place back in like the 1920s or so, it would make a little bit of sense. Now, the author's mother was a police officer in the 80s, so I think there's a lot of influence there, but this takes place in the early 20th century as opposed to the 80s. And quite honestly, it's not bad. There's a lot of sexism, of course, which is played up a little bit too much in the book, but it wasn't uncommon at the time. You know, she has to do a little twirl for the hiring officer, and, you know, there's some general sexism. The gun that she's given isn't even real, it's a prop, kind of goes with the Hollywood theme, and she does make a friend named Frankie, who looks really creepy smiley. I don't trust people that smile that much, especially ones handed out free ice cream. That you're one step away from getting in his panel van, which he does have. But all in all, the story isn't bad. It does wrap up on an actual cliffhanger where a guy's about to jump and he's a celebrity and people are telling her to do something. Yeah, alright. It wasn't a bad issue. I don't know where it's going yet, so I'm not sure how much I like it, but it wasn't bad. The story was by David Lucarelli, art by Henry Ponciano, letters by HDE. I don't know, I can't read that. The art really is a little too manga style for me, but it was passable, functional for what it was trying to do. And I thought it was an okay story so far. I think I'm going to have to wait and see what comes of issue 2 before I can actually make a real judgment on it. But the sexism's a little heavy-handed, probably close enough to accurate that, you know, it'll get you through and you get the idea. But I think it could have been done a little bit more subtly. But I'd still recommend the issue. You can't beat the price point of $1.50, and it was an interesting enough story that I do want to pick up issue 2. So I would recommend it. If you are a big like women's lib type, this probably suits you just fine. And if you're just looking for a good police action story, it seems like it's going in that direction too. So I think it's got a lot of potential. We'll see how it plays out. So I'm going to go ahead and say recommend. Like most Alterna books, you can't really beat the price. Even if you didn't like it, you're only out $1.50, and you could buy 2 Alterna books for the cover price of 1 DC book. So even if you hate one, there's always a backup. I'm going to give this a yes and say pick it up, check it out, see what you think, but that'll do it for me. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next episode.